Good day, everybody. This is Doug Walsh with Dark Horse Stables. I am here in sunny South Florida. Sorry, I look like I've been working with horses all day today, because I have, and this is the end of my day. It's been pretty hot down in South Florida. We've been around like 101, 102 at the heat index, which makes us really want to be aware of our horses' electrolytes intake and making sure that the exercise that we do with them is in a manageable and smart way. We want to make sure that we're working with them in the time of day that is the coolest for them, as well as for ourselves. We want to make sure that we stay hydrated as well, which is why it is about 7 o'clock here in the evening, and it's cooled down a little bit, and so I'm going to do this fun little stretching video with Mr. Dauntless. Dauntless is one of my horses, and we are going to kind of demonstrate what the importance of stretching. Now, I'm a big believer in they're athletes for us, right? Even if they're not an athlete, even if they're an equine assisted learning horse, we want to make sure that they feel good throughout their whole body. So the first thing that I want to do with Dauntless here is, and when I first started working with him, he was really stiff and had a lot of, and this is just a lot of horses hold lactic acid in their necks. They have like 106 muscles from their poll to their withers. It's very important that we get them to feel fluid in their neck, just like with us. If we wake up in the morning and we've got a kink in our neck because we slept wrong, it's going to affect our entire body. Someone says, "Hey, Doug, look over here." I'm going to go, "Oh, gosh darn it." And it might make me a little grumpy that day. So we want to always make sure we're putting our hands on our horses to make sure that they're telling us through their energy if they're not feeling good, if we're hitting a spot that might be bothering them. So what I do with Dauntless here is that I like to rub my hand right down his neck and ask him to put his head back up. Thank you for that. I appreciate you getting your line. Don't eat that. So I want to make sure that all of his muscles feel nice and soft and relaxed here. I don't want to have any super tightness in here. I don't want to have any bulges of muscles that shouldn't be there. I want to make sure that, and he, you know, being a performance horse, I want to make sure, like an athlete, that the muscles feel good and are solid, but they're not all knotted up and have issues with them and kind of tightness in them. Just like if we have tightness in our shoulders, we feel those knots. We don't want to feel those knots. So the first thing I want to do is just kind of take my hand and just kind of rub it along here, just make sure everything feels good. If I do get a little tight spot, so I might take my palm and just lightly rub it with just maybe an ounce or two just along here and see if I get any type of reaction from him, if everything feels pretty good. Now, he gets this done every single day, so he's going to feel pretty good. And on my website, I do some videos of horses that are just learning this, and you can find some tightness, and you'll see how they tell us right away, hey, that doesn't feel good. But you see how his eyes are about half closed? He's going, wow, that feels pretty darn good. So before I can ask my horse to bend properly and do a stretch, I've got to make sure that he can do it. So I want to be able to pick up this line really easily and have him just want to come over here. Now, I personally do this without treats because I want him to want to respect me and have a partnership with me no matter what the conditions are. If he gets nervous and I do this with a treat, he's not going to really care because they're prey animals, so they don't look at food in the way that predators would. So I want him to want to do this because he wants to be with me. When I first start doing this, I'll just lay my hand right in the middle of his neck because I don't want him to bend from here and I don't want him to bend from here. And I want him to turn his head to look at me. I don't want him to rotate it and look at me this way. I want him to feel comfortable and be able to rotate his head at the pole, bend in the middle of his neck, and be able to come like that. So I get a nice bend throughout the entire neck. So then I'll do the same thing on the other side. So I'm just going to rub my hands down here. Just want to make sure he feels good. If there's a little tight spot, you can use the palm of your hand very gently, just like you would on your own muscles. If you had a little tight spot and you had to work it out, you had to kind of work out this little area. If you didn't have anybody that was willing to do it for you, just had to work that out with your fingers. It's the same kind of thing. We don't want to press too hard and we don't want to stay on an area too long. We just want to see if we get a reaction if he does have a tight spot in there. So we got some flies going on down here in South Florida, so he's fly sprayed up pretty good, but they're still out along with the gnats. So I'm going to ask him very lightly if he'll just bend this way. So I want to bend him to the right. I want to make sure that he feels the exact same to the left or to the right. So if he feels good like this, so then I'm going to continue on and I'm going to say, okay, if I put my hand up here, top of his pole, and my hand right on his bridge of his nose here, how does his pole feel and how is that transferring down? So my no, the flies are bugging you, buddy. So I want to do this. If you look, if you can see his lower lips, I want that whole pole and axis to be really soft and loose. And if you can see that in the camera, he's like just wiggling his head. He's super giving me everything. So I'm just want to make sure, and then I'm just doing this, I'm just kind of wiggling this back and forth very lightly to see how soft he is through his pole, through his, and through his neck and into his jaw. I want him to feel comfortable, I want to feel relaxed. So that's the ultimate goal that we have with our horse. And I also have on my website horses that are just learning how to do this so we can see the beginning and the end process. So now when we talk about stretching their legs, now we don't ever want to stretch our horse's legs when they're cold. Just like with people, we want to make sure that we're warmed up. So we did a little bit of stuff with Dauntless here today, and I want to make sure that his range of motion is good. So when we go through this process, is it just like with us, if you're going to learn how to do the splits, I'm not just going to like say, okay, I'm going to do the splits and have someone come and jump on my shoulders and really go up and down and really stretch me out and hurt me and tear something. So it's going to take time to do the split. So we want to make sure that we're stretching to a maximum amount that we can without hurting ourselves. So when we work with horses, we want to kind of even back off a little bit more when we first start, because remember, horses have 700 muscles in their body. They've got no muscles from the knees. The knees or the hocks down. It's all tendons and ligaments. So pretty amazing what they can do with as small as legs that they have and as big as they are, right? It's like, I mean, our legs are bigger than theirs are, and our feet are bigger than they are. So because there's no muscles down lower, we want to make sure that those tendons and ligaments are taken care of. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask him to pick up his front leg, and I just want to see how the range of motion is on this shoulder. So I want to say, can I move this in and out very easily? Can I get, 6 or 7 inches of flexion back and forth? What are you doing? He hasn't seen me all day. So, good. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to... He's being very lovey today. So I'm going to ask him to allow me to do this with him. Good boy, stay there. I'm going to ask for this leg. Good boy. And then I'm going to ask to bring it forward. So now, Dauntless can go much higher than this, but I just want him to feel good that he can stretch that out. Now all I'm doing is just holding the bottom, and you want to sit down in like a squat position. And so a lot of your horses may be really far down here when we first start, but we don't want to put ourselves in a bad position. So we want to make sure that we can lift our horse's legs up first, and they'll allow us to move him forward. So we want to make sure that I can take his leg from here, and I can lift it like this, and then I can ask for him to lift it out like this a little bit. So I can ask for him to lift it out like this a little bit, and then when I do that, you're being such a ham. He is a ham bone. But anyway, so I'm going to hold these stretches for about 15 to 20 seconds, just like we would with ourselves. And once that's stretched out, good. See how he just put it out a little further? So now I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to ask him to stretch it back. So I also want to, when I have it at this point, I want to make sure that both these, the lower leg and the upper leg, are touching each other, because that's going to show to me that his knee is flexing properly, everything is doing what it should do. He's in a super playful mood today. Then I'm going to ask him to bring it back here. Now this is a cue for him to bow, so I got to be careful with this left leg because he might want to bow too much, like this. So when we teach these cues with him, he's learning what he shouldn't do and should do, but I like the fact that he's so light that he feels that pressure and he wants to release and go to the bow. So now I'm going to go to the right front. Same thing. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to go to the hind end. So the hind end, when I pick up this hind leg, I'm just going to ask him to pick it up just like this, and I want to ask him to stretch it forward. So I want to stretch this forward. So this leg, when a horse is completely relaxed and flexed, should be able to come all the way to almost where the girth is. Now also, that hip flexor should be able to rotate out about 12 inches, and it should be able to slide all the way up underneath that front right leg as well. So most horses, when you do this with, are going to be really sticky. They're not going to have that range of motion that they should have. So remember, once again, it's super important when you do this that you don't pull their leg up higher than they can do it, and that we work on this over the course of a month, and then we do it every day for 20 seconds per leg. So I've got this leg up here now. So I'm just gonna ask him, can he move it in? Can he move it out? Can he move it in? Can he move it out? And so when I get that range of motion, it's making me feel pretty good that, that he feels good within his body. So if the other leg is a lot more limited in that, then I know that he's gonna have some issues when he's either trying to yield over or he's trying to just move that hind end over. He's gonna be limited in his range of motion. So now I'm gonna ask him to move the hind end. So I'm just gonna keep it picked up here, and I'm gonna ask him to stretch out the back. Now, if you can see this in the camera, all I'm doing is resting his leg right above my knee. So if I need to move out of there, I can move out really easily. If you notice, I'm trying to keep myself always in a position where I can move away from him if needed. Now, do not try any of these exercises if your horse is not good with their feet being handled. We've got a whole video series on how to handle your horse's feet if they're not respecting and want to kick out and things like that. So this is only to be done when your horse is starting to really understand that you can pick up their feet and you can do things with them. So I'm just going to hold it out here. You've seen your horses probably walk out of a stall a lot of times and stretch out that back leg. So I just want to allow him to stretch. So as he stretches more, I'm not holding him here. I'm just letting him keep his foot there. So we've done that for about 20 seconds. So now I'm going to allow him to have his leg back. Good. Thank you, buddy. So as we go through this, we're going to do now the front right leg and the hind right. So we're going to do the exact same thing. So now what I'm measuring for is I'm going, how does the right compare to the left on both? So is the front right pretty similar to the front left, right? So I'm going to pick up this one here. I'm going to say, okay, how does this look? Good. So the height feels pretty comparable. And now how does my left and right feel? Well, he's got a little bit more range in this left leg. So when he has that range in that left leg, I'm saying, okay, he's a little bit more stuck in the right now. So I got to work on that right, getting that knee a little bit to have a little bit more maneuverability. Now, you notice I'm only going about 60% of what he can go, but I know I can feel just how soft it is in there. So then I'm going to make sure that everything feels good here. Good. And now I'm going to ask him to stretch it out. Good. Okay, so now this leg here feels like it's more limber with moving it forward. So I'm going to, nope, I need it back. This feels like it's got more stretching capacity to go up further. So I'm going to see how he just stretched it out real good there. So I'm going to, if he pulls it back, that's good. I'm just going to hold it here. This is just a stretching. This is what I love about my horses. They can be complete clowns at times. Nope. So I'm going to say, no, I need that. Good boy. Nope, I need that. Good boy. Good boy. And then I'm going to come to the back here. And obviously he's learning to bow from both legs. So good boy. Stay focused. Stay focused. So now I'm going to go to the back leg and pick up that hind. Ask him to give it to me. See if I can stretch it forward like this. I want to be able to go under. How far can I go under with that hip? How far can I bring it back? So we have about the same range of motion on the hind legs, and I work on that with him every day. Try and keep that similar. Good. But we notice that maybe he's a little bit more stuck one day than the other. So that's why if we do this every day, it's a quick way for us to kind of have a gauge on how our horse is feeling. So now I'm going to go to the back. Stretch the back leg out. You notice I don't have anybody holding him while I'm doing this, and he's pretty good about just standing here. Good boy. So he likes to play with his line today. So as we've gone through those stretches, It's really important for a couple things. Is that we stretch our horse. I stretch my horse daily, and I try to do that daily because I want them to feel as comfortable as possible. If I'm an athlete, I am an athlete, I have to stretch myself daily. I'm not getting any younger, and sometimes I feel a lot older depending on if I don't stretch and I don't take care of myself. If I go to my massage therapist once a month and I don't do my stretches, my massage therapist is going to say to me, if you do your Epsom salt baths and you do your stretching, then I can just do maintenance on you. I don't have to keep fixing you and getting back to square one. So I like to stretch our horses. I like to see where they're feeling, how they're feeling, if they're feeling tight in one area or another. Remember, don't do this if your horse has an issue with their feet. We've got videos on how to get them to that point because we want to be able to pick up their feet, stretch them, do what we want to do with them, and make them feel as good as possible. Don't overstretch. Always think of like yourself. Range of motion, we never want to go too far past the range of motion, but it's important to keep our horses feeling good, and they'll kind of tell us where they can stretch. So if they can only go up this far, don't push it to this far. Every day that you do this with them, they're going to come further and further and further and further up. So same thing with the back. They're going to have more, just like if you stretch every single day and you just go to that point where you feel comfortable, after a couple weeks you're going to be a lot farther than you were. So Dauntless is being a big ham bone today. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope that this is educational for you. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. Be smart about what you're doing, and if you don't feel comfortable doing something, don't do it. We can always get a massage therapist you can call, or you can call me if you have any questions. Thanks so much. Have a blessed day. Take care.